Hey there, it's Mick here. Today let's talk about Permaculture Principle number 6, produce no waste. Theoretically, this sounds really simple, right? Never throw anything away. Don't let anything leave your property. In theory, super simple. In reality, not so much. This is one of those things that we can't take as an absolute. We have to allow for the fact that we live in society in most cases. Some of you may not. Some of you may have already dropped out, and if so, congratulations, I hope to be right behind you. For the rest of us who are still living with grocery stores and having to bring in supplies of all sorts, it's a little hard to produce no waste because all those things come with packaging. So until we can live in a intentional living community that supplies for all of its own needs and reuses absolutely everything it produces, what do we do? Well, we do the best we can. And we find small, simple solutions that can reduce or greatly reduce the waste that we produce. We can find ways to produce less waste. We can find ways to eliminate certain waste streams. So as we're thinking about this, let's remember that when we throw something away, it's not really going away. It's going to a different place that's still on this planet. So the pollution that we create, we will still breathe, even if the trash pile isn't on our property. It's going to go away to a landfill where it's going to sit in a bag and it's going to get into an anaerobic environment where it's just going to rot and not become anything beneficial. I don't know if you've seen WALL-E. Yes, it's a kid's movie. It's got a pretty good message in it, and let's not end up there. So what do? When we grow food, one way that we replace having to buy foods from the grocery is that you start with one thing. At some point, years ago, I decided I wasn't going to buy fresh or dried herbs anymore. Now, I'll buy herb mixes. I'll buy spices that I don't grow myself yet, but basil, oregano, these kinds of things I don't buy anymore. I picked one category to eliminate buying. That stopped trucking that was coming to me to bring me basil, and obviously not me directly, but my portion, all those little trickles of things coming into the property. But what else did it eliminate? Eliminate spice jars leaving the property in the way of trash, which of course can be recycled, but how many spice jars can you really reuse or recycle, So pick a little thing that you can cut out. What about single serving snacks? I knew a person several years ago who was going off on this rant about how people don't take care of the earth as they're eating gummies out of a single serving pack of gummies from the box of single serving packs of gummies in the pantry. That's producing a lot of waste. That's producing a lot of trash. If you were that gummy eater who liked your single-serving gummies, could you buy a big package of gummies and some little single-serving jars and jar up your gummies and stick one of those little jars in your bag, in your purse, in your snack drawer? Could you eliminate the waste of single-serving gummies? That's one way we can start to produce no waste. Eliminate one little thing. Eliminate plastic straws. Eliminate single-serving gummies. Start buying the product that comes in paper that breaks down easier, that you can put into your compost instead of that comes in plastic. Make small, simple choices that can help you. And another way, which I briefly just mentioned, is to start reusing some of the things that come into your property. For example, we ship in a lot of things. And I mean we as a household, and I mean we as a community, as a society. We ship in a lot of things. We get deliveries from Chewy and from Amazon and from whomever else. They send boxes into our property. Now, we could throw those away, which wouldn't be good. Many of us have recycling available from our city, so we could recycle them. They'll probably get recycled. Sometimes the recycling truck knows that there's stuff on it. I mean, not the truck, but the people. They know that there's stuff on there that shouldn't be, and they have to take it to the dump instead of the recycling, and that's not good. So could we sheet mulch our gardens with those cardboard boxes? could we compost those cardboard boxes? Can we feed them to our worms? Find one little thing that you can find a way to easily reuse within your system instead of letting it leave the system and go become trash somewhere else. Hey, so if you're finding this helpful at all, if you're learning anything, if you're enjoying this, if you're getting some good information, would you mind clicking that thumb? I would really, really appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed and you want to get more of this kind of content, please hit subscribe, maybe even the notification bell. And if you are subscribed, you're my favorite, and thank you. So we've talked about eliminating one type of waste from your life, and we've talked about finding a way to reuse one type of waste from your life. Here's something else we can do. With our food waste, with our paper waste, most of it, with our yard scraps, we can compost. Maybe your situation is not such that you can have a compost bin in the backyard. That makes sense. I mean, it takes up space and some landlords won't allow it. That can be difficult, right? I've not always been able to have a compost bin. I've composted as often as I can in any situation that I can for the last 12 years? I don't know, since around 2010. But there were times when I couldn't. When I lived in my car, I didn't have a place to compost. When I lived in a gym, I did set up a bin behind the gym and I did compost there. You can compost with worms. And yeah, there's like the big bathtub systems that have to be outside and take up a whole lot of room and all that stuff. But you can compost in a 10-gallon storage container with worms. If you are in North Texas, I recommend Texas Worm Ranch if you want to get some worms. That's something you can do in the house. Our worm bin is in the kitchen between the table and the back door, and the only time that it has created a stink is when I put cauliflower in there. That was my fault. I'm not going to do that again. Now cauliflower comes to the chickens. But that's another way you can compost, is with chickens. The worms will also eat any paper that is not shiny, like the advertisement section in newspapers. If you've seen a newspaper in the last who knows how long. But that shiny paper is not the best for them. Preferably like toilet paper tubes, paper towel tubes. Those are things that we throw away regularly that we don't need to. They can be recycled, they can be composted, they can be fed to worms. You can trench compost. If you have any kind of a gardening situation at all, you can dig a trench, put your food waste into it, and cover it back up. Now with all of these things, you're not gonna put eggs, animal flesh, animal fats, those sorts of things into your compost unless you are running a hot compost. They won't break down and you're going to have some grossness on your hands. So your compost wants to be vegan unless you are running an 18-day hot compost, which is a whole thing. There's videos out there. Check Eric Sider if you want to know how to do that. It's really awesome. That is my interpretation of produce no waste. What can you eliminate as a waste stream? One little thing. Pick one little thing. What can you stop bringing in so that it stops leaving your system? What can you deliberately reuse? Just pick one thing. Just one thing. What can you reliably and dependably decide that you are going to reuse? And what can you compost? How can you compost in your system? What is a way that you can eliminate your food waste and some of your paper waste from leaving your system through the use of turning it into soil? And remember that produce no waste, when you are still living in society, cannot be an absolute. It's a goal. I have a goal of standing on my head when I'm 100 years old. I can't meet that goal until I get there. All I can do in the meantime is try to stay alive and try to stay strong long enough to be able to stand on my head when I'm 100 years old. I can't push it, I can't rush it any more than I can create a closed system while living in suburbia, right? So we do what we can with what we have, with where we are, and we make the best of it. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you later. Later, y'all.